Preparing for PMP? Let's nail communication management in another 3 minutes. I guess it would take about 5 minutes. It has only three processes. First is creating the communication management plan, second is managing the communications, and third is monitoring those communications. Uh, Creating the communication management plan is where you can leverage some of the tools, such as appropriate communication methods if you want to go with push, pull, or interactive. Push is when it would suffice if it's a one-way communication, like sending out an email, uh, or just sending out a fax or a memo. Pull is where there's a lot of information and you would want the stakeholders to take the information themselves through via internets or libraries or learning courses. And interactive communication is when you know that there are stakeholders where there would be an exchange of information happening between them. So which is where you need to ensure that there is interactive communication happening between those stakeholders. Aside from communication methods, you can always reach out to experts. And however, you need to ensure that the communication model that you use or incorporate is has appropriate encoding, has appropriate decoding, has a feedback mechanism to complete the communication, and that there is no noise that is unintentionally added into the communication. So the output of planning the communication management is, well, communication management plan. It would outline essentially all the events that should happen, what would be the cadence of those events, what is the objective of those events, and what will be the deliverables of these events. For instance, it could be just minutes of meeting stored as an artifact, as a project document, or it could be simply a project report. Things like that go into the communication management plan. Post uh, this process comes actual management of the communication. Now you have to make sure that all the stakeholders are getting the right information at the right time. So there are four methods here. First is formal written. Formal written is, it would be like a blueprint, agreement, contracts. Formal verbal would be like a presentation where, although it's in a formal setting, the communication is verbal. uh, then third is informal written, where it would be just a simple reply to a stakeholder. Or informal verbal would be when your stakeholder calls you asking the status of the project. That would be informal verbal. So it's all about ensuring the stakeholders get the right information. However, there are three aspects that a project manager should be wary of when such communication happens. Is paralingual communication. Some of the questions could be based on these paralingual communications, non-verbal communications, and feedback. Paralingual communications is essentially how you sound. How you sound. If you sound nervous or anxious, obviously the information that you're trying to deliver will not be received to the appropriate intention. Uh, you need to ensure that you sound excited, you sound confident. That goes into paralingual communication. Aside from this, there is non-verbal communication. Obviously, non-verbal is your expressions, your gestures, uh, how you dress up. So if you dress up in a informal dress, in a formal presentation setting, obviously what you're trying to deliver will not be received with all the seriousness. Third would be the feedback. Feedback is where you respond to the communication, where you showcase that you've been actively listening to the person you're responding. So these three aspects you need to ensure while you manage the communications. After managing communications comes monitoring the communication. It is one of the most important processes, well, which is where the project related work performance that you have been gathering uh, is processed. For instance, what is the status of the deliverable, how much has the team accomplished, how much costs are incurred so far, things like that. These would be essentially called as work performance data. And the work performance data is then processed into, well, project management tools to extract reports. And reports is where you can share to the stakeholders so that they can make appropriate decisions. And the reports would be sufficient for them to understand how far we are from the schedule, scope, cost baseline, and if any appropriate corrective actions needs to be taken. So, and this conversion of work performance data into work performance information is a very important conversion into the monitoring communications process. Aside from these three processes, there's one concept that is also important from the exam standpoint, is calculating the lines of communication. So essentially it's a formula. If there are three, if there are n people into your well, where the communication needs to be architected, you have to ensure that there are n into n minus 1 by 2 the lines of communication established, so that everybody is in the loop. And with that, we conclude the communications management plan. Well, it was little under 6. Thank you.